Hello, everyone. In the novel I'm analyzing today, there's a suspense-filled plot. The female protagonist Bella meets a mysterious woman named Stephanie at a party. Stephanie offers to help Bella get rid of the Alpha Damon's harassment. But in return, she wants Bella to cooperate with her in competing for power and status within the werewolf pack. At first, Bella is drawn to Stephanie's proposal. But she later discovers that Stephanie's motives are not pure. Her real goal might be to replace Bella as the new Luna. Faced with this situation, how will Bella choose? Can she sue Stephanie's conspiracy? Let's follow the rhythm of the novel to find out. 25 The Christmas Spree of Bella, Leela whispered in awe, her enthusiastic nature shining through as she covered her mouth in delight. Her eyes twinkled as they ran over Bella's form, squealing in joy. Bella, feeling self-conscious about her appearance as usual, asked hesitantly, "It's not much, but I like it. It's nice, don't you think?" She gave a little twirl and then a following curtsy, her adaptable nature allowing her to embrace the new style. "And Kyo," Leela laughed, leaning over, her Italian slipping out naturally. Bella, Bella, eager to learn, raised an eyebrow at her friend as she turned towards the mirror. "What does that mean?" "It means me too. I also like it," Leela explained helpfully. Bella fidgeted with the belt of the dress, hoping it would rest better on her torso than her chest. "You know, it'll be better if you learn Italian soon. Everyone here speaks it. It's the main language of the pack." "I know, but how do I learn? I have no teacher and I myself haven't heard anyone speak it," Bella acknowledged, playing with her hair in the mirror. "Maybe if I part it from both sides," she thought, addressing June, who was lazily dozing off in the back of her mind. Reluctant to share information as always, said, "They don't speak it with you, my Luna. They choose to speak English with you because," she trailed off, sighing heavily. Bella studied June's expression carefully from the reflection, avoiding eye contact, fidgeting with her fingers, mouth twitching. "Bad news alert. Please carry on," Bella prompted, even though she knew she would regret it, because it was an order by Alpha Damon. June whispered in an inaudible voice, which luckily Bella caught the second it came out from the tip of her mouth. Bella, thinking of a response, had one ready but kept mum. It was June's fault. "So, what's your overall say about the dress?" she asked, changing the subject. "It's fabulous," Leela chirped, rising from the bed. It was a nice bright red dress with a high neck, elbow-high sleeves, and a thick adjustable waist belt with a dangling golden zipper. The skirt ended a bit lower from Bella's private parts, but the black net tights covered them well all the way down to her feet, where they met her pencil heels. It was elegant as well as casual, so Bella approved of it fairly quickly the second her eyes landed on it. "Do you want me to help you with your hair, my Luna?" Leela offered, her helpful nature coming through. No thanks. I'm good." Bella shook her head with a kind smile. "Go get yourself ready." "Okay." Leela sprang from the bed and made her way to the exit. She paused a foot away from the threshold for a brief second. The straighter and curlers are in the second drawer along with all the other hair styling products. I nod while taking a seat in front of my dresser. And she leaves, gently tapping the door behind her. Luckily for the past 2 days, Leela S. helped me hunt down the perfect dress for my pack appearance. Buy and pack all the gifts on my given list, have them shipped, and helped me write over a dozen joyous Noel letters. She was like an angel from heaven, I swear. Damon had been on the night shift for the last 2 days, so I never saw him, but it was me complaining here. June was ripping and thrashing to get control, but I held my restraint tight, receiving a major headache and mouthful of curses in return. Alas, there was no escaping him here, as much as I was anxious for the appearance. I was more stressed when I couldn't remember my mom's necklace that Xavier had gifted me. My head even hurt way too much for me to think so after shedding a couple of tears and messaging Leah for aid. I did my under-eye makeup again to cover the mascara stains. I had just drawn open the door to the second drawer, when a small red velvet box with a giant rosy pink bow caught my eye from the corner of the drawer. Hesitantly, I pick it and tug on the bow till it fell limp under my fingers. I gasp and drop the lid in surprise. Inside was my mom's necklace with the glass sparkling as if it were brand new or replaced and the metal-like chain as old as if it were gently polished. Tears of joy swell from the corner of my eye, but I wiped them furiously. I had just done my makeup for a second time, and I didn't want it to become a third time either. When my joy had started settling, I chained the necklace around my neck and gazed in the mirror for a while, twirling with the chain. Someone had to remind me to say thank you to Leela, or else I would never forgive myself. She had done so much. Blinking the tears away, and before bringing out the curler, I tuck away the necklace under my dress and then began my loose curls. 15 minutes and 9 songs later, I was done. I was about to get up when I wonder if I could find some hairspray to maintain the curls for the night. One by one, I ripped through each drawer till I found one with another package neatly wrapped in velvet, but this time it was green, with no bow. How many gifts will Leela give? Oh my God. Haven't you ever heard the phrase if someone's giving? Quit your whining and start accepting. June scolded me. Not sorry. I haven't. I reply flatly. I shifted between my palms and waited, trying to sense the texture. It had a light sort of weight for something so small, smooth and rectangular. Curiosity getting the better of me, I tug loose the corners and let the wrapping fall limp just as the first gift. Unlike the first gift where I was overjoyed, this one just left me puzzled. It was book, a journal of some sort, that had a battered leather spine which was starting to fray and yellowish stained corners. The word Dalmore stood out from the middle of the front cover, which obviously was some Italian word, carved some way into the cover and inked in with jet black ink. Feeling an uneasy and sudden cramp from the edge of my waist, the book slips from my palm back into the drawer. My hand instantly falls over the area as I rise and bump the drawer, sending it slamming shut. Cursing, I race to the washroom as fast as my heels took me and lock the door shut, feeling another cramp burn from my stomach. I curse again and sit on the toilet. I feel warm gush between my legs and my cheeks burn red. Just when I was about to unlock the door to get some feminine products, I hear the bedroom door click open with a trail of slow footsteps and a mild perfume. Hey Leela, I call out from against the door. The footsteps stopped dead. Hey Leela, I know this might be awkward to ask you and all, but I don't really have a choice. So yeah, could you pretty please help a fellow girl out and pass me a pad from my bag on the dresser? I don't either hear a response or shuffling of items from my bag. So I add, Look, I know I ask you for a lot and all, but you're the only friend I got here, so I don't really have a choice. I rethink what I had just said and cringe by how harsh I must have sounded. I mean, you have a choice to either help or not, and I definitely don't. But I was wondering if you could please, just this one time. You can probably imagine how desperate sound, but I could really use your help. I hear dead silence for a moment or two, and then the shuffling of a bag catches my ear. A smile lights my face as I hear a single tap on the door. I couldn't face Leela like this, so I deliberately opened just enough for the pad to slide through. The sickly sweet scent of pine cones came rushing in, but I discarded it for the scent of my old perfume bottle I always keep in my bag. Bright pink wrapping with golden swirls and blue flowers had barely made it about an inch in when I had snatched it, locking the door shut without saying a mutter of thanks. When I rethought about my actions, I was about to say something when I heard the door slam shut. Promising myself to make it up to Leela, I quickly used the toilet. Leela had reminded me twice that at exactly 30, Damon would show up to escort me down to the hall. She also surprisingly added, he was very punctual whenever time was involved. The lingering scent was humming in the air when I had opened the door, and yes, that was the first thing I noticed. The second was, no doubt, the time, 7:45 on the large modernized clock plastered just above my dresser. Punctual my ass. Ice cough. The squeaking of the door silenced me as I was left breathless. There he stood, dressed completely in a dark shade of black matching his hair. One arm bent forward and upward to his goddess-like chin, with the other hand fixing that cuff. Xavier's words came running back. "It means, my dear sister, you," he grasped my shoulders gently, "are on the early stages of falling in love." His hair reflecting bits of white from light, while his eyes just widened when they landed on me. I clear my throat, pretending to itch an area just behind my ear just so I can have an excuse to look away. "If you like what you see, there's no use trying to hide it," he said smoothly, when my head was facing away from him. I squeezed my eyes and relief, a heavy sigh buried deep within my throat. Love my ass. I never said I liked what I saw. In fact, how can you be so certain I even do? My eyes betrayed me as I looked towards him, falling for his trance once again. His gorgeously smooth-looking hair, which I'd rather prefer tousled than slick. His tight muscles bulging beneath his suit. Light stubble crowning his angelic jawline, upholding that devilish smirk. Not this time. I remind June, who was past the point of drooling and on the stage of being knocked out completely. "I don't blame you if you are." He grinned, walking up to me. "I'm just way too good to be not." I roll my eyes with the NPH sound. "Do you plan on wasting my precious time here with your so-called Digo? Or do you party to hostin' that was a petty excuse to get me dressed? Do you think I would lie about that?" He inquired dangerously, standing up straight in front of me. His hands were fished into his pockets of his pants and his heavy cologne was stinking off him. "You never know." I clucked my tongue, looking straight into his black holes. People in this pack can be very inappropriate. I reach out and adjust his tie, which happened to be a bit crooked, allowing the sparks to shoot up. And selfish when it comes to matters like this. Personally, it's none of my business, but since I'm the Luna, it bothers me a great lot. His eyes lower into mine with a subtle frown. He could have easily overpowered me if HED liked, like on the day of the wedding when he had locked my hands behind my very own back. My eyes remained transfixed with his as they swallowed me whole. "Shall we? Or do you have a plan on keeping your own pack waiting?" I pat his chest, breaking the silence and sweeping right past him before he could have the chance to say another word. I had just made it to the threshold when a hand came from behind to keep me in my place. A pair of darkened eyes with glowing pupils appeared from my side, shoving me up against the wall. "You know." He stroked one of my cheek down all the way until he made his way to my waist. "Your face says it all." I hadn't realized the chain of firecrackers being lit until he squeezed my waist, to the point where his claws were digging in, and it made my eyes swell. A moan was on the tip of my tongue, but I held it back desperately. I couldn't show my weakness to the enemy. His perfectly arched lips were close, but not close enough for me to grasp. Thank the Lord for that. He slid his index finger under my chin to push it up, my wet eyes facing his in the urge to kiss him unexpectedly quick, expecting those every perfectly Cupid lip to come upon mine any second. I allow my eyes to close shut. The sound of hand coming off of the wall restored my sight just as he brushed my hair aside from the crook of my neck that bared his mark. Damon then forcefully tilted my head and tugged on the collar of my dress until the fabric was lightly loosened so he could peek in. His calculating gaze studied my mark intensely. Good to see it healed. I shove his arms aside, from my waist and mark both, glaring at his face. I reply good to the person who should be caring. Actually caring for once. It's a nice sudden change. A smirk rose upon his lip. If I wanted to care for someone, I do my ultimately best at it. He winked, showing me enough of his much of a fuckboy he truly was. I meant that in the unsexual way. I retort. He rolled his dreamy eyes, making my heart flutter for some reason. "Shall we?" Damon ran his hands through his hair before bending his arm for me to latch on. He also additionally added when I still hadn't placed my arm, "I won't bite just yet. Promise." "Well," he reconsidered for a second. "Maybe not in any places where you don't prefer." "Oh God. You'll regret this." I mutter, grabbing his arm with my nails first. Fireworks lit up path with more intensity than before, shocking us both equally. His scent encircled me, dulling my senses and easing my anxiety. I didn't even know I was anxious until my chest oddly felt relieved and light. Spots dotted my vision while each and every light in the room flickered with each blink, and my hearing intensified by a million. You could say I almost was drunk on Damon because that's how I felt. I didn't even know when we had reached downstairs, and Damon was slipping from my arms, damn. Before I could finish saying his name, he had left me with 3 other men following behind him. He just left me. Unbelievable. All looks like our Luna just got ditched by the Alpha. So sad. I hear some girl from the corner snicker. She had filthy blonde hair and a drink in one hand with a cigarette in the other, entire right arm. I turn away, feeling my anxiety rising again. The lights were all off, all except for the blinking flashes of neon lights that were appearing in flashes from the window stall. She exhaled and the smell of smoke made my stomach churn. I felt the urge to cover my mouth, and sensation where I might puke. Next thing I know, I'm running like a madman when I accidentally collided into someone at the end of the hall. Oh, Leela, you scared the living shit out of me. I breathe, holding the wall for support. The lighting was better, but not much. She was in a black and white waitress uniform with a petite round skirt that ended where you could see the start of the fishnet stockings which were pinching her upper thigh. What are you wearing? Never mind me, my Luna. She ushered me into the kitchen, away from the patio door the loud music was pounding from. I couldn't see past the door because of the strings of plastic sheets covering the opening to the outside's world, but I could tell it was a wild crowd. Neon lights were flashing everywhere while trays and trays of alcohol were lined up against the countertops, all ready to be served like a rave party instead of a Christmas. The Alpha's looking for you, she said, with concerned eyes. No, he isn't. I stop in my tracks and twirl to face her. He ditched me back here. Cause an issue had arisen, she defended. Now go find him and make the impression that you born to make. Sighing tiredly, I wrapped my sweaty palm around my mother's necklace. I could do this. What in hell do you think you are doing here? Caden pops in from the patio doors madly. He was also dressed in a tux, but a more classic black one with a white dress shirt in its first few buttons and done. I could have also sworn I saw a hickey or two blistering around his neck. I was just. No time, he said in a tired tone, grasping my wrist effortlessly, pulling me off in the opposite direction of the music. Hey, the party's that way. Not for the appearance it isn't. Caden seethed, yanking me around the stairs and into some dark hallway that led to a well-lit room at the end. The doors were just parted enough in order for the hallway to not be considered neglected. Remember when Hunter explained how our pack works? Oh sure. I bit my lip. This pack was originally originated as an inbuilt hierarchy with the big bad wolf as the dictator. Am I correct? Stop. Caden threatened with his eyes burning. Anger management needed for this pack ASAP. You're about to make an appearance out here. So for the love of God, stop acting so immature. One single wrong move and you'll be toast. He spat, resting in between words now. How does our pack function? He asked in a slightly calmer tone than before, but sadly for him I was convinced. I grit my teeth as from screaming the words out. They're evaluated on their abilities and then ranked upon those abilities. I mechanically said, yes, correct. But in your case, he pointed, that doesn't make difference. They don't care about your ability or anything like that. They care of your rank. The Luna, usually second in control after the Alpha himself, but like before, it doesn't make a difference. Damon will always remain first and you behind him. And if you wish to be heard, you must always find yourself behind him always. That's the only way you'll be heard in front of them. Them, I ask. And he gives me that, don't you? No look. Yes, them. The head of each rank, darling. He informed. Your appearance is for them. Not those lousy drunk jocks back at the disco who can't manage to keep their alcohol in their stomach for a night and girls who can't resist from spreading their legs in every dark corner they get. What if they don't? I step forward, away from the shadow of a stairway. What if all their egotistic asses are way too big for their minds to process? Then what? Do I make a petty speech about my issues and present the Damon with I don't know? A mind map to show my brainstorming and essay to support my theory on why the population of this pack might prefer me dead. Then you do what you must. Remember the day when you tried to cover your mark, he said softly, grasping my wrist tighter. How you tried to cover his mark because you were utterly disgusted by thought of it simply being shown. How you thought that was a sign of weakness. Well, like that day. I'll say this again. Power is essential here. And you must have a desire for more if you wish to stay on the top. If that's said, his hand and eyes fell from mine as he headed down the hallway with his footsteps heavily being dragged into the room at the end where the laughter and chatter was rising from. I slummed against the wall, my heart hammering the only thing audible to my ears and with my heels threatening to give in. After multiple deep breaths, I mustered the courage to rise and take baby steps in the direction of room, with my heart quickening as I approached closer. I gently pushed the doors apart to be greeted with a totally different scene from the kitchen, which made my heart gasp. The floor's tiles were perfectly arranged to the red blood crest in pitch-black tiles at the center of the room as the center section with rings of other colored tiles surrounding the center. Lavishing white marble pillars were embedded around the edges of the room to hold the second floor, which also had matching foyers rising up in each corner. A fire cackled at one end of the room with the beautiful olden chandelier shining over the center as waiters serving trays of milder alcohol than the kitchen swept past, offering to both anyone without a glass or with an empty glass. People here had their most elegant and expensive attires adorning them. Ladies wore long, silk, like gowns that had a stilt down on or both legs, with wickedly long heels that could poke an eye out. Men wore their best basic suits, with their usual $1,000,000 smile and golden laughter. I gulped down the saliva gone cold. My fear of being overdressed suddenly became underrated. I stepped forward into the light, just to be greeted back with a shove into the shadows again. Hey, oh, she speaks. What a delight. She wore a completely silk dress which had a major split running from her thighs down to her toes and golden heels thinner than anything I've ever seen. It was a surprise she could even walk straight in those. Her hands were interlocked down on front her as she examined me with a curious eye. Her eyes, don't even get me started. Her eyes were traced with black, and patted down with heavy glitter and her false lashes battering with each blink. Her long jet black hair was straightened behind her, in a long black sway moving with her head. So you're Etha Luna? She said more as a statement than a question. If I say yes, will you bother to explain why the hell you shoved me back when I was trying to come forward? I tried to sound threatening. Her sharp knife-like eyes flash up to mine. She gives a wicked laugh, her hair swaying with her hips. Isn't it obvious? I have a proposal for you. I unwillingly groaned. You know, the last time someone had a proposal for me, I was forcefully being stuffed into a wedding dress like a turkey being prepared for Thanksgiving. So no thank you. Keep the proposal to yourself, but it's for your benefit. She lies innocently just when I had my back to her, but I understand if you wish otherwise. Her heels hadn't whirled around when I burst out saying, Wait, what is it? A smile of satisfaction burst upon her lips, as she brushed some stray hair away from her cheek. I can keep Damon away from you. What makes you think I want that? I curved my fist. Sure, I hated him, but away. Your face says it all. She told me, giving a sense of a déjà vu of earlier in the room with Damon. Guess I was awful with facial expressions. That really, even a blind person can sense your chemistry with him. You to have no similarities, no emotional bond, no feelings, no nothing, from what I've observed. You to have no chemistry whatsoever. Chemistry. She looks like she won't even know the definition of chemistry herself, and she's lecturing us on it. June growled. Who the F does she think she is? I stare off and beyond. She was lying, but again away. Caden's word came bursting up in my mind. Damon will always remain first and you behind him. And if you wish to be heard, you must always find yourself behind him. That's the only way you'll be heard in front of them. Who are you even? From what I remember, you never said your name. I happened to just realize when June mentioned it. She rose an eye, her lashes battering. Stephanie. So she was Stephanie. The horny chick from Damon's phone in the hospital and the chick who poisoned me by threatening Leela. So you're Stephanie. The one and only. She purred gracefully, arching her head in a mocking way. Yeah. The one and only to poison me on my first day by scaring the living crap out of Leela. I add for her just as gracefully as she said. She clucked her tongue. So you're going to meet the enemy here while that stinky Omega becomes your friend. What has the world come to? Care to elaborate? Stephanie was really starting to get on my nerves here. I mean, why make that pathetic thing with no power or rank your friend when you can make me as one? I have it all. Killer looks, power, rank, money, whatnot. Be with me, and I can make people respect you. You'll make them fear me, not respect me, and that's not a true Luna. I explained gravely with sharp eyes. There's a major difference in between them. If I only knew you were going to sympathetic for her. She sighs tiredly. It's not called being sympathetic. It's called being nice. Which you probably haven't been in a while. She overlooks me. You haven't seen my kindness just yet. She taunted. Last time I checked. Poisoning someone's drink with wolf's bane isn't counted as an act of kindness. I inform her. That was me. Stephanie warned with a wave her index finger. That was Leela. No, I said. It was you. You threatened her to do it. Well, wet. Leela was found at the scene. Not me. And besides, she was punished for it anyway, so can we please get over that? She was what? I gaped in horror. What did you do? I never did anything. Her eyes glinting with mischief. Because Damon handled it. He gave what that bitch deserved but for me. Personally, I felt he could have done more, but how much can you argue? What did you do? I repeat this time a bit more furiously. My fist, which was instinctively curled up, was begging for a punch. Even June was ready to lash out any second. Nothing. She smirked. Because like I said, Damon handled it, but obviously he wouldn't tell you. Would he now? She circled around me until she was directly behind me. She was given 20 lashes and 48 hours of silvering. With silvering? I asked stupidly with tears stinging my eyes. She gave a high-pitched howl of laughter. When you're chained with silver bracelets that are also laced with silver ashes for additional suffering. Tied over your wrists, feet and neck. You wear those and simply carry on with your lifestyle. One of Damon's marvelous creations. So thank him. Oh my God. I gasped. How could you? I never did anything. She was found on the scene and she was accused for it and punished. So we're done here. She clasped her hand. Now, back to business. I said I had a proposal and you've heard, and now you tell me your final answer. There's no need to overthink it. You said you'd keep Damon away from me, but what's in it for you? That's what I've thinking. I said slyly. Maybe. With me out, you'll have Damon to yourself. That's the plan. She agreed, with a nod. And I add, and you'll have Damon under your control, which means whatever the Luna does will be given to you, and eventually with Damon's consent. You'll have me permanently removed from the position of Luna. Is that the plan you're referring to? Stephanie pursed her lips tightly, eyeing me darkly. So you're not half as dumb as you look. Good to know. So I take it as you reject the proposal. You better, or else I swear, June threatens angrily. Obviously, like you said, I'm not as half dumb as I look. I repeat her wordings back at her. I was only rejecting it because being the slut she is. She was asking for my mate, but also to prove Caden I was also in the game of power. Think again. She warns, turning her back to me and beginning to walk away. I don't offer my friendship twice. That's not called friendship. I laugh madly. Loudly enough for her here without Wolf hearing and over her heels clicking loudly. That's called a proposal. 26, the unexpected guest. How many glasses have you had? Caden wondered in astonishment, dumping on the bar stool next to mine. The coat of his tuxedo was open, showing off how badly wrinkled his once pressed dress shirt was in over a few hours with purple blisters from previous love bites. I drained the glass in hand before replying. Hiccuple. I hiccup after the glass hits the countertop of the bar. I giggle as my feet began to sway side to side, sort of like Stephanie's hair had before she had trudged away after hearing my rejection. Caden didn't look convinced, so I add, maybe enough to be at the borderline of being considered drunk. Oh, another round of shots, please. I order DOZILY as the young bartender passes by with an empty tray. He gives me an empty look and glares at Caden before taking a gentle bow and returning to get the shot glasses afterwards. He lines them up horizontally in front of me with the bottle of vodka in his hand, but he doesn't start pouring till after Caden releases a heavy sigh and nods briefly. After he walks away, I turn to him with a frown. Why did he have to get your permission for pouring me shots? He sips his nearly empty glass of whiskey, before tracing the rim with his thumb. You can't blame him. You've been here at the bar for over 45 minutes. And be no one besides me and Damon himself knows you're the Luna of this pack. And Stephanie. I mutter under my breath before draining another shot. Its burning sensation giving me a jolt of energy like an injection of caffeine. Stephanie. He choked. An unusual glint sparked in his eye at the mention her name. What about her? Oh, nothing I can't handle, I said, grasping another ready shot glass. I drained its content as Caden observed my unchanged expression. She had a proposal for me, but don't fret. I rejected it. What type of proposal? His expressions grew dark as swerved his stool to face me directly. The music of the other orchestra playing on the other side of the room grew distant as the drinks went down. Now it was a low hum, with Caden's face starting to blur and mix with color of the light. I'd erupt into a fit of giggles. Your face looks like all funny with all those. Nora, the whole rich Nora. He seized my wrist with his voice growing lower and deeper. What was her proposal? I giggle again. You're funny when you're mad. Your nose is all red like Rudolph's. Who in the heck is Rudolph now? He asked, releasing my wrist frustratingly. Rudolph the red-nosed reindeer. How have you not heard him? He saved Christmas, you know. I scolded seriously, grabbing the countertop. Did he now? He said, sounding slightly irritated while sipping another sip of whatever he had. Why, yes, I exclaim, trying to stand up on my stool. W with his big shiny red nose. What in the heck are you doing now? Caden slammed his glass down on the counter, so he could use both hands to bring me down from my stool. What were you thinking? If you don't know who he is. I pointed him and then at myself. Then I have to tell everyone about him. Oh, about how he saved us all with red nose of this. What did you have? He asked a little breathlessly as my hands locked behind his neck. Something. I wink, laying my lips briefly on his cheek before taking a seat again. He remained standing, looking at me like I was the world's most confusing puzzle. He'll be back, he murmured before racing me in direction of the crowd at the center of room. Luckily, I was the only one left at the bar. People came but to order and then leave with drinks in both hands, one for themselves, where they had a company of their mates. I was left abandoned at the bar. Tragic and very cliché. Tears had begun to flood my tears at the thought. Well, at least nothing was holding me back from getting drunk, not even my mate. My cheeks started to flush as I drank the last shot and turned my stool in the direction of the crowd centered in the middle. Caden reappeared from the midst of the crowd, gently steering his way around a group of people. Damon was nowhere to be seen as always, and so was Stephanie. My heart quietly broke at the thought of them both being absent at the same time. It means, my dear sister, you are on the early stages of falling in love. Xavier's words came barging in, making me curse, eject the glass in hand towards the crowd. Whoa! Caden caught the glass mid-air without any effort anyone could take notice. I don't think hurtling glasses at our guest is considered as good hospitality. He took his seat beside me again, silently looking at me as I wiped my wet eyes. Shut up. Hey, he pulled my face towards his towers, his clear, vivid eyes. What's wrong? God, I might sound crazy, I confessed with a tiring sigh, pulling myself away from him and hanging my head in my hands. Who is Stephanie? Wait. Hold up, he stammered, clearly taken back my question. Stephanie. That has you upset. Well, you were right about one thing. You were right about the sounding crazy part. I am seconds away from calling the mental hospital on you, by the way. My lips betray me as I left a smile faintly appear. Yes, now stop rubbing in. Will you speak or not? Okay, fine. I surrender. He swings his hands up mockingly. I will. But have this. He passes a wine glass with some deep red substance. Maya peeks up skeptically. Blood. Oh, please. Only savages. Some illegal cannibals and Edward Cullen can have that stuff and stay sane, but for proper classic people like us, we have wine. He swiftly grabs another glass for himself from a passing waiter, without him even noticing. Clearly shocked and amused, I rise my own glass to his. To proper classic people like us. Our glasses clink and we drain them quickly without another word. Caden remained unaffected, like it was an everyday thing for him, but I was panting afterwards. Unlike vodka or whiskey or anything I've had in the past few minutes or so, where I received a jolt of energy as an aftermath. The wine was oddly light and relieving in some sense. HMPT. Stephanie is Dame Anne's oldest and most cunning as well as deceiving girlfriend till date. Caden spoke gently as if he were retelling an old forgotten story. They go back to when Damon was still young and when he was handed down the title of Alpha. He was only 14 at the time, where she was 11. She was Dame Anne's dad, the old Alpha Scamma's daughter. So they knew each other since birth, really. After Dame Anne's parents' death, many other were killed, including Stephanie's own parents by other rival packs that thought they could claim it as their own. There was a war even in which we were victorious, and since Damon and Stephanie had been a thing. He twirled the empty glass, which had less than a sip left, until it coated the more than the bottom before draining down again. But I have hardly seen the two together. Translation. Ive never seen the together. He looked up with dismay. The death of Damon's parents was hard on him enough when the news of an attack was announced. He needed support in a time that was dark to him, and Stephanie gave that, creating a bond between them which he still half forgotten. After a while, Damon was normal and the support was unneeded, but that didn't mean their bond was destroyed. Just because they aren't together doesn't mean they aren't together. I chewed my lower lip as I faced my glass. Aren't together. Fabulous. Where I was thinking Stephanie was the third wheeler. It turned out I was third wheeler instead. My grip on the glass increased. What does take to get some wine around here? Caden's serious acting was up and back to his amused smirk. He raised his hand and snapped it once loudly, resulting in a waiter magically appearing with a bottle by my side. Pour a generous amount for the lady, he ordered, with his eyes darting back and forth from the glass to the bottle. After bowing his dismissal, I turned back to Caden to see his eyes rise from his watch. Showtime. What? Now, I say with disbelief, the glass nearly slipping from my grasp. No, well, wait for the grass to grow. Of course now. He erupted, offering a hand. I grab onto it and he yanks me up without a second to spare. And before I knew it, we're racing through the crowd, towards the top of the risen platform like the one back in the church, located directed next to the orchestra crew and in between the two corner foyers. Damon, his turned back, flipped around as our pace softened when we approached him. He held a champagne flute while his other arm remained his trousers pocket. Excuse me. He excused himself from the other elderly man who was too busy eye-raping me from head to toe to hear. About time. Dame Anne spoke softly enough for our ears only as the other left. He glanced past me to Caden, tilting his head. Damn. He smells good. June purred, forcing my eyes to run over his body. As I went from his legs up, I blushed furiously with images of his nothing but a towel wrapped over his man's parts. Behave, June. What took you so? Wait. He took a step in my direction with his nose wrinkling. He withdrew his clear hand from his pocket and took my wrist into a biting grip. How much tequila did you have? He narrowed his brows. How do you? Dame Anne chuckles dangerously, yanking me closer to his mouth. brushing my ear with his mouth lightly. I shiver under his touch. Because you smell like a margarita blender, he whispers huskily, with his smile burning hysterically. You'd probably taste like one too. He brushes my ear once more in a quick clockwork motion, stroking my cheek in the process, and before I could comprehend what was going to happen next, he presses his burning lips against mine. I freeze as he sucks the warmth from my lips and tries to bid his access into my mouth. My mind short-circuits as it tries to process everything happening. His chest pushes mine, along with my body a step back as he bites down harder. Do I lie defense down to my careless mate as he attempts to pry my lips apart, or do I do the opposite and pray for the best possible outcome? Open, 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 open. June chants, with each word increasing with intensity than the one before. A whimper erupts in the back of my throat as my defense weakens by each second passing dreadfully long. The pulsing of my lips begs me to give up my resistance. Even voila. After my lips wither up and I was about to part my lips, Damon pulls back, watching his expression gravely. His eyes flash with their golden rings pulsing with each beat. Somehow the glass in his hand had disappeared, and using it now, he brushes a curl behind. Get the pack assembled, he ordered breathlessly, gazing at me but directing the order to Caden. He bows with a smug little grin plastered on his face. You, Damon instructs me with a tug on my wrist. Follow me. He half yanks and helps me up the risen platform as fast as my heels could take me. As Damon releases my wrist, he uses it to signal the orchestrate silent. Faces turn in our direction, and within a flash, my anxiety rises once more. Buona sera tutti. Caden steps onto the risen platform. Welcome everyone. Hope everyone is enjoying their time here. Damon inquired after Caden catches everyone's attention. He stands tall and proud with his hands as always tucked into the pockets of his bulging trousers. God, stop thinking of the bulge in his pants. I scold June seriously. We're in the middle of an appearance. I've asked for all your presents here not just to celebrate Christmas, but for another, more important and pressing matter. As many of you might know that I've found my mate. He pauses for a brief second, skimming the area as people turn to chatter under their breath with the people around them. As many of you might have already had the pleasure to meet her, I am here to recognize her officially to all of you. What the hell? This is more of a show and tell than an appearance. June snarls. Agreed. I'd present ho il luned del red blood pack, Mrs. Noradame un Romano. He says rapidly, turning to me with his eyes daring me to make that mistake as the crowd applauds. The applauds weren't the only thing ringing to my ears. The criticism came in like a raging river, flooding my mind. Have you seen her outfit? It's like the dress I wore in 4th grade. And those legs. Wonder how much I'd have to pay to sleep with her. And he rejected me for her. I pity him. What a degrade for the Alpha. Looks like one of those strippers from the training club I joined last year. $50 for getting those shoes off and one for those tights. I wonder Chess ever handled a man with such a big. That was enough for me to block them all out. My ears buzzed as I mechanically stepped forward to his side for him to lace his hand with mine. Many of you might wonder why I married her, but all I can say that for sole business purpose alone. Henceforth, from this day on, the Silver Rose pack will be one of our main importers, and I strongly suggest trade begin as soon as possible for benefits for both packs. Thank you and enjoy the rest of the party. Damon tilts my chin up for him to lay his lips on mine for half a second before reeling away and disappearing into the crowd below. Wait. Did he say trade? I think he did. June replied, surprisingly. But the war. I lower my head as I walk off the platform and into the crowd, just as Damon had. I was about to reach the bar when a passing waiter swept by with glasses of more wine, copying Kate and Ness' effortlessly actions from before. I sneak a glass off without raising any alarms. I was about to take a sip when my ears caught some extremely loud yelling from nearby. Why her? Assuming her as me. I move in the direction of the yelling as it leads me into another room hidden behind one of the corner foyers. The doors were wide open, so I simply walk in as the drama unfolds. You promised me, a female shrieked. Damon was in the heart of room with Stephanie in her fire-red dress, gleaming behind him. They both were faced away from me, so my presence went unnoticed. There were people, but definitely half the size of the other room. He promised. That is the worst defense anyone has heard. Pathetic. Stephanie spat in her direction. And what is even worse is the fact you believed him. He promised HE deal of me, and that HED marry me soon, and that is why I transferred my father's land in his name. You don't understand what I had to do to get that land from my brother's name to mine for you. I love you, God, and am in it. She cried, her mascara smearing over eyes and dripping down cheek, leaving a wet trail. The second Stephanie caught a whiff of my scent, she whipped around and smirked devilishly. Oh, love. Damon. Stephanie purred purposely at him with the clear intention to strike me. You love me. You've always loved me, even from the beginning of time when our eyes first locked. You should have married me when you had the chance, sweetie, but alas, you were forced to marry that ungrateful, awful little creature. She hissed in my direction, flashing her terrible raccoon-like eye at me. June snorts. Ungrateful, says the almost extinct breed of raccoon. Damon, being unaware of my being, follows Stephanie's eyes to me and frowns. It's never too late, my love. She glazed the tip of her cherry-red extended nail against the stubble growing on his jawline. You could still marry me. What the actual F? No. Fuck off, Stephanie. If HE's going to marry anyone, it should be me. Another blondie steps out from the darkness. Her hands were shaking with fury as she trudged down the steps of the spiral stairway with the tail of her blue dress floating behind her. Stephanie remained frozen in her spot with her bare leg and crotch pressed against Damon's thigh and nail trickling around his stubble. Like the other blondie, my hands were tightened with fury around my glass. Saying them like should have done anything to me, but unwillingly it was. Kate unraced from behind Damon to jump in the path of the furious blondie. Hey, Valerie. Long time no. Yes, and go to hell, Caden. She shoved him aside to meet her way to Damon. If you want to marry anyone, it should be me. They'll marry me. This time a brunette, similar to the one in the hospital, jumped forward to pull the blondie Valerie aside. Seeing the resemblance, this brunette could be a sister or even a distant cousin of the hospital one. Excuse me. It should clearly be me if you, Damon, want to marry anyone. A bright redhead in a golden gown-like dress rested a hand on Damon's empty shoulder from behind. The second Stephanie saw, she flashed her raccoon eyes at her just as she had done to me. No, me. Hell marry only me, Valerie exclaimed. No, it'll be me. No, it'll be me. The redhead purred. Hell surely marry me. Marry me. EW now. Marry me. What, why? She flicked around to Damon. Marry me. Gag me. I cough from behind, covering my mouth with my glass. Damon hears and turns to flash his paranoid look at me, but instead of hiding away, I raise my glass to that. Now, ladies. Caden hollers as I sip my wine and I take a seat on an empty nearby leather bench. That's enough. Damon cannot marry anyone, since if you dead-ass bimbos haven't seen or heard, HS already married and marked his mate. So marking and marrying shouldn't be the issue here. He could marry anyone or just mark them, and claim them as Luna. Marriage never was part the werewolf clan. It is for those mateless humans who needed an excuse to bond with one another before reproducing. Stephanie provided sorry. Why was I get the feeling Stephanie hated humans? It is not like HES mated with her and fully claimed her as the Luna. What was with people's problem with Damon not getting in between my legs? But she has already been presented as one to the pack. Caden defended. What will he tell the pack? I'm sorry, but I accidentally married and bit the wrong girl and then presented her as the Luna to you guys. So y'all, I messed up big time. Sorry, homies. Stephanie rolled her eyes. HES the Alpha. He can claim anyone as the Luna, and no one can say a word against it. The moon goddess created them as mates for a reason, Stephanie, and if she did that, there has to be a reason behind it. Caden said. What are you saying? She questioned. I am saying. The moon goddess wanted Nora to be the Luna of this pack for a reason, and by compelling Damon here to marry, Mark and mate with another girl would be opposing the word of the moon goddess and facing her wrath. Would you ready to pay that just so you could be Luna of this pack? He argued, silencing Stephanie into deep thought. The silence was profoundly long and intimidating, but the shattering of glasses and echoes of screams from the other room quickly changed the atmosphere. Damon's eyes perked up to their highest point, facing me, or rather the door behind me, gravely, shoving a timid Stephanie aside. He raced towards the screams with Kaden jogging to keep up behind, overlooking me without a second glance. The people gathered around started exiting through the other door out to the back, my curiosity getting the better of me. Instead of following the crowd out, I'd go the other direction, the way Damon and Kaden had disappeared through, chucking the glass behind. I take slow steps towards the doors, swinging them open. Before my eyes were about a dozen werewolves in their human form, with their claws outstretched before them, clawing their way through the members of the pack like a machete slicing through grass. They were scattered over the hall, fighting with nothing but their bare claws dripping in blood. From the corner of my eye, I luckily catch sight of a man ready to lunge at me. Remembering how Xavier taught me back home through a million hours of training, I step to my left, allowing my opponent to slip aside before sending my elbow into his spine, causing him to collapse helplessly on the ground. Another one tries another method, thinking to outsmart me by appearing from behind me. He grabs my shoulder with his claws digging in, but I take it to my advantage as I grab onto his arm and kick my feet against the wall, doing a complete 180 flip gracefully and landing behind him instead. I send a punch to his jaw as he turns around, but he sweeps me off my feet as we both go flying back. Hissing from pain, I stand and do the thing I am best at. I dash across the room, dodging people as I cradle my throbbing elbow. Guess I was out of shape, unable to see Damon or Kaden. I run back to the kitchen to where I was hoping to find Leela. On my way out, while cautiously turning back every now and then, I was taken by surprise when something my injured elbow tugging me into the pitch blackness, pinning me against the wall. I send my foot crashing down onto the attacker's foot without thinking twice. If it weren't the scent of fresh pine cones, I wouldn't have been able to recognize the howl of pain as Damon's. What the heck is your problem? A faint sting erupts within my heel around my toe. If you hadn't had grabbed me like that, I wouldn't have done that either, I exclaim as he presses this finger against my lips and tightens his grip on my waist. His brows furrow as he tilts his head to the side as if he's listening to something. Follow me. He tugs my wrist down the hall without paying attention to my protest from pain. We can't save everyone. The warriors will deal with them. You can't say that. He sighs and carries on, tugging my wrist behind him. You're injured if you haven't seen. He was about to lead us the third stairs when the sound of glass shattering stops me completely. My eyes spot with dots as I use my hand to glaze the back of my hand softly, as it comes back laced with scarlet blood. My eyes nearly pop out of my head as I heard Damon's growl from ahead. He still had my hand locked with his butt as the world around me spun. His glowing ring dyes dissolved into pitch darkness as my legs left the ground. 27 The attack. Damon's POV. Seeing her fight was an odd talent that I hadn't anticipated in any way possible, especially from a girl so petite and agile looking like her. Dillon seemed more infuriated rather than impressed by the thought of his mate fighting savage werewolves by herself, where I was the opposite. After ripping yet another throat, I had caught a glimpse of a blur of red from the top of the foyer, flipping over with the aid of her attacker's arm and striking a hard blow at him afterwards. Her inhuman eyes radiated her familiar golden brown and then dissolved completely into a strong shade of pure gold strangely similar to mine. I couldn't view her face since she flipped over and her hair was scattered over her face, but when her opponent kicked her off her feet and they both fell over, her deep chocolate hair was thrown back. She laid on her back and turned to her side, cradling her elbow from a past injury most likely. My eyes widened when I recognized the red blur, which was a dress. But my mate's dress. Our mate just took down two attackers by herself. I informed Dillon, slightly impressed. I mean, if she worked on her angle and directed it more to his eye, she could probably knock him like the other one before. Why is dealing with them when her mate is an alpha, for the record? Is Basim staring at her ass from behind as she runs away? Dylan said, when I realized my eyes were indeed on her ass. I hum my head in defeat as Dylan laughs victoriously, shaking my head and inhaling a deep breath. I jump over the ledge and land with a roll and then my legs. I rise, dusting my tuxedo and using my werewolf sight to catch her running into the hall to the kitchen, taking the another secret route from behind a large painting of a bowl with pears. I managed to arrive by the area between the stairway and kitchen before she herself could arrive, leaning against the wall awaiting silently. I shut my eyes for a brief second just till her scent came close enough me to drag her into the darkness. Her scent was different than the rest of the girls, no doubt. Stronger, yes, but also just different. It was more like freshly plucked red roses drenched in water with an additional scent of vanilla just to empathize the scent of roses a bit more. I didn't know if it was a mutual mate-to-mate thing, but her scent drove me crazy. To the edge crazy. Like I actually awaited to come home just so I could get some more of her scent. Or you could say it was more of an addiction. God, Dylan has made me so cheesy for the past few days. Her scent inched closer by the second, and the second she was turned backwards. I grabbed onto her elbow, accidentally the one head that was injured, and pulled her into the dark, pressing her against the wall. I was about to ask about the elbow when she sent her foot jamming down on mine. What the heck is your problem? Her inhuman eyes resolve into their normal state. If you hadn't grabbed me like that, I wouldn't have done that either, she retorts. I hear some distance footsteps, so I instinctively press a finger against her lip to silence her and wrap my arm tighter. Surprisingly, the sounds that the fighting had ceased and so had the footstep, leaving a cold, dead silence. Follow me, leading the way, carefully looking over each corner twice. She broke into a whole rant about how I'm alpha and I should be helping the others. We can't save everyone. The warriors will deal with them. I growl tiredly. You can't say that, she exclaims, holding back with her grasp on the railing to the stairs. Where in hell did she get this energy from? Dylan chuckled and begged for control. Fuck no. You're injured if you haven't seen. My patience gradually ticking away. I tug her hand off and pull her up behind me. With her moping, my ears zoom into the texture of her voice instead of surrounding sounds. She's drunk. She'll injure herself more if she's alone. I tell Dylan, who was sounding really convinced. Sure. We were on our fourth flight of stairs when the sound of glass shattering appeared from behind me. Nora froze in her spot. My eyes dart back at her with an angry reply ready on the tip of my tongue, but when the scent of blood arose to my nostril and when I saw Nora return her hand laced with blood, everything was lost. Fear paints her face as she looks at me timidly, looking as if she were on the edge of tears. To make things worse, still unfuels my anger with his growling. Her eyes flutter before they close shut completely, her hand breaking away from mine. Before she could fall head first, another man in unusual mask grabs her from under her arm and hoists her in his arms. I outstretch my claws as Dylan growls some more in the back of my mind. Give her back. He laughs deeply before the other appear from behind him in the exact same mask as their leader to restrain me back, clawing my claws at their face first. They manage to slip a punch direct at each side of my stomach, coughing my spit up. I get my act together as I duck a swing from the left and punch the right one in the stomach, making him fly back and over the ledge, and the left in the nose exactly, making him go tumbling back. Damon, Caden screams from beneath. I'm up here, I reply, wiping my lip, cursing at the sight of blood. Son of a bitch. What are you doing here? He hops over the body crippled at the beginning of the stairway and jogs up to me. Some bastard took Nora up to the rooftop. We need to hurry, I provided before starting to jog up, following Nora's angelic scent. For once, I was glad for her scent being too strong and vivid to my nostrils. I lunge open the door to the roof, and growl at the sight before my eyes. He was facing us, like he was awaiting for us to arrive with Nora locked within his grip, her leg sluggishly attempting to keep upwards. He had an arm around her neck and another around her waist, silently warning us to stay as far away as possible. From a distance, It was like as if she were sleeping, if it weren't for a fat brute threatening to throw her off any second. "Get your hands off my mate." I growl, my voice deepening with authority. "Be careful what you wish for. The second my hand leaves your darling little mate, she'll have quite a fall, won't she?" He grinned. In the moonlight. His mask began more visible to the human eyes. His eyes were cat-like, shaped into large almond. With the help of his dark masquerade, his eyes nose. "What do you want with her?" Caden asked harshly. "She's done nothing wrong. She's innocent. We're the ones who done the wrong things." "I don't care about that," he shot back. "I don't give a shit about your wrongdoings." "Then why her?" It was my turn to ask. "You could have taken anyone. Me even. The alpha of this pack, but yet you choose her. There has to be a reason why." "Maybe there is." He grinned toothless why. "But that isn't the concern here for you." "Then what is?" "I threaten. You have your hands around my mate and you're threatening me to plunge her into her death. I don't know about you, but I consider that a priority. Don't fret, shall be returned soon." His grin widening. "After the alpha's done with her." "Which alpha?" I growl. Which alpha would be such a coward to kidnap another alpha's mate by faking an attack? Again, none of your concern. His eyes flashed darkly. "And since you mentioned plunging into death, I was thinking of how your mate would look crippled. Not that the alpha would mind if she were to. Don't you dare." My eyes pulsing harder. My claws were digging into my palm, making the blood ooze out of my grip. "Step away, and I'll give the idea up." He tilted his body to the side, with Nora's body leaning over the edge. Or I could remove my hand on her and, okay, all right, you'll get your way. I snap with my hands up and fade to the feet before he could twirl some more. "Well, step back. Caden." I turn to him, and wink an eye discreetly. He catches his breath and nods understandably. "Step back now." The warriors all trail back cautiously, watching us for any further changes. When they get none, they all leave through the door completely. "You too, Alpha," he sighs tiredly. "Hurry up. I'm getting bored." I growl, and dart my eye at him and trudge out with Kate and furiously behind me, slamming the door shut and running down to flight. I stop midway. "You, Caden, go back up with the rest of the warriors." "And you?" he asked breathlessly, not convinced the slightest. "Leave me go." I order with my voice ricocheting off the walls and gripping the railing angrily. Before hearing more of his bullshit, I jump off the stairs and land on the ground. Mealing. Rising off the ground, my ears catch a heavy exaggerated sigh with some curses, unsurprisingly directed towards me, and the some following orders. I sprint around the corner, hopping over 2 corpses torn open with their guts spattered on the wall and floor, dirtying my newly bought Armani shoes that I had especially ordered from Europe. Great. Already be in the foulest mood. This just worsened it. I wouldn't be surprised if clouds of anger were spewing out of my ears at this point because I couldn't care any less. Remembering the target at hand, I shake it off and dash to the door, flinging it and hopping off the porch as I hear the exaggerated yell of a falling man. I whirl around just in time, catching my mate's fragile body falling limp against mine, with her head tilted away from mine. Her features basked in the presence of the moonlight, and I soon found my staring. Her arms were outstretched on both sides of me, with her plump small lips slightly parted and her lashes naturally curled upwards without the help of any prosthetic. Holes were ripped in over 50 different places of her stockings, with her chest gently pressing against my coat's opening. She was truly an image of innocence in the moment. I found it hard to look away even, but the yelling of my name overheard snapped me out eventually. Rage filling me, I divert my gaze up, but before I could open my mouth to start, the trail of curses lined up. Caden mouthed a set of words. "To your right." I turned to my right to see a crashed red sports car with the dead corpse, which had an arrow buried in the middle of his chest and which also reeked of gasoline. Before I could comprehend the scene, I turn the opposite way and press Nora's body under mine as the corpse explodes with shards of metal erupting in multiple directions, including ours. I grit my teeth as the shards soar through the air and rip through my coat like tissue paper, and bury themselves into skin. Rossi, get your ass to my place ASAP. I order, hanging my head weakly. What happened? Just get your freaking lazy ass up and to my place and you'll see for yourself. And oh, bring some backup. I bark. Damon. Caden kneels beside me with his eyes burning at the sight of my blood oozing and getting absorbed by my coat. Lay still, you dumbass. I rest my body on my forearms, nestled on each side of her head with her head pointed towards mine. Being this close up, I realize how arched her lips truly were, how her cheek were simply breathtakingly soft and flawless, and how her eyes were the jewel of her face, being so wide and profoundly perfect. The phrase, the eyes being window to the soul, was slowly coming to me. As cheesy it may sound, seeing her unconscious under me with her face eased the pain and soreness related to the pain in any way. It was like being so close was a remedy to the pain. It never felt better. You healed surprisingly fast. I take Kate and Ness' extended hand and rise with his help, while shaking my head as if it would help. How he shrugs, making me roll my eyes. Never expect an answer from him. I don't know. Made healing, he suggested, brushing my shoulder. Thanks for the cleaning, but is there such a thing as made healing even? I asked, buttoning my cuff. I had to look presentable. I've heard stuff like that, but as you see, I have no mate, so I can't be too sure. He told me, making me grin. I'll be sure to give it a try. My Alpha. I turned to see a figure bow deeply, with the bruised cheek and black eye. I didn't recognize it was Hunter until after I saw his very own personalized midnight black bow with golden stars in the shape of several different constellations decorating the grip and lower and upper limb. So you were the one to shoot the attacker, resulting in his fall. I say after connecting the images of the arrow buried in his chest back to Hunter. Yes, my Alpha. He lowers his eye from mine and Cadence. Answer me this head delta. I trudge up to him, staring at his eyes, awaiting them to fall with mine. What if the arrow that you intended for the attacker buried itself in my mate instead of the attacker? His eyes shone an image of pure humility. It never intended on hurting the Luna in any way possible. My Alpha, believe me what I say. The arrow was for the attacker only. But suppose, leave him, Damon. Caden shouted from behind. His shooting is beyond accurate. Take anyone's word for it, even mine. And from what I know, H.E. never hurt Nora in any way you're assuming. He should know the consequences by now. I exchange glances from Caden to Hunter's. Your dismissed head delta, but tend to the Luna till drive. Rossi arrives. Yes, my Alpha. He bows, dropping his bow and lowering to the ground to rise her head into his lap. Curving my fist, I divert my eyes away before I knew I couldn't handle it anymore. She's our mate. We should be attending to her. Dill unwinds. Shut your crap hole. We have more better stuff to do than attending to wounds. I shoot back as he takes her arm into his to take her pulse. My Alpha. Carter came jogging with a gang of warriors behind him. His tuxedo's coat was spotless without a thread out of place, but his hands told otherwise. Being drenched his blood, his voice was breathless. Those bloody silver Ross. It was the silver rose pack behind this. I explain, studying the car which was still burning, its flames licking the air greedily with a heavy cloud of smoking hovering above. It isn't in their nature to attack this discreetly, and besides, Alpha Xavier withdrew his war declaration just now. There's no motive whatsoever. There might still be. Carter crossed his hands behind his back, making Caden's scowls tighter. No offense, my Alpha, but in their eyes you haven't treated the Luna as per their expectation, and that could be a possible motive we should consider. I grit my teeth. Like I said before, this isn't their nature to attack discreetly like cowards. They're the second largest leading pack in North America behind us. They have just as much as dignity as us for holding that place for over the years. Fighting like cowards, as you assume, would reflect poorly on that. Wouldn't it? He cleared his throat. Yes, my Alpha. Hey, Alpha Hulk. What is it, Caden? I growl, growing more and more tired by the second. You got to see this, he replies. I follow his scent behind the sports car. Someone had doused the fire and on top laid the crippled burnt body, which smelled more of burnt flesh than the normal werewolf scent. The stench was so strong it churned my alcohol-filled stomach and stung my eyes. What? He, without a second thought, threw his hands into the pill of ashes and fished out his half-burned tryst, which was a disturbingly awful shade of dark brown / black. Use your wolf vision. I did as he said, and what I saw left me speechless. Even with the red dots spotting my inhuman vision, the sight of the tattoo with 3 inked rings and spark of fire was hard to miss. I study it for a while longer before I allow my normal vision to restore. The burning rings. Wait, hold up. Carter, crossing his hands. You're thinking this is someone from our pack causing all this. No, but it's definitely someone's copying our crest and misusing it to make us think it's someone from the pack. Caden provided with a mock grin, tossing the burnt hand back into the pool of ashes. Carter returns it with a mock smile of his own. Stop it, both of you. I lecture. Some owns kidnapping not only our members, but also members from the Silver Rose pack. I had gotten an email from Alpha Ryan regarding this issue just before the party. They go missing from one side of the pack and turn up in the other, burnt and experimented upon. It's becoming a widespread problem. So you're saying this attack was a distraction to kidnap members? Carter asks, making me nod, just as another younger blonde warrior comes sprinting in his direction. He pauses to bow at me before whispering some rapid words breathlessly into his ear. Leave now. Carter dismisses him. What is it? I ask, thrusting my healing hands into my pockets to cover the bloody scraps that were midway in the healing process. Our burning ring tattoo was also found on the other dead attackers inside. He mumbled. That was all it took for me to hang my head tiredly. If this keeps carrying on, this was going to end well for either sides.